We are live. You can start.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Chandni Seth. I'm an endocrinologist practicing in Mira Road, Mumbai. And today's agenda is about enjoying festivals. We know that Diwali is around the corner, then there'll be Christmas, New Year, and then another year full of festivities. And I think in our country, the F in festivities is for food. We have food associated with each and every festival. And today we'll be talking about our friends who are living with type 1 diabetes. And we want to learn more and we want to share how we can increase our enjoyment without increasing our blood sugars and make the festival sweet. So we have our esteemed panelists today. Dr. Mohan will be introducing Simran, Vaishali, and Cheryl. Over to you, Dr. Mohan.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Chandni. So I think we are in the series of type 1 diabetes awareness, and not only type 1 diabetes, there are many other types of diabetes as such. So I think I am an endocrinologist based in Trivandrum, and we know that we are going through a lot of troubled times of COVID, but still our festivals and festivities have to continue. So this occasion also marks that next few days we are going into the mode of this Diwali. So we have to understand that all our diabetic colleagues or all our patients living with diabetes have also to celebrate, because everyone has to have that moment. So with us, we have got three esteemed faculties. Dr. Chandni has already mentioned that we'll have to go through the panel discussions. So first, we have Ms. Cheryl Salis. Ma'am is actually very familiar to all of us, and she has been with our Facebook panels before. Just to cut it very short, she's a registered dietitian. She's a certified diabetes educator. She's an author of a famous book called Diet and Diabetes Simplified. She's a founder director of Nurture Health Solutions, Mumbai. And she's a recognized international figure as well as a national speaker. Welcome, ma'am. Also with us is Ms. Vaishali Vakil. Ma'am is a person living with type 1 diabetes and last 30 years. She is a honorary counselor and diabetes educator at Juvenile Diabetes Foundation. She's a founder of the Cake Presso, which is a homemade confectionery in Mumbai. It's actually specializing in sweets which are actually gluten-free and also non-having all these favorite. So welcome, ma'am, to this session.
Thank you.
To complete the panel, we have got Ms. Simran Oberoi. Ma'am is a mother of type 1 diabetes warrior. She's a founder of the healthy baking expertise called On the Oven Full. Forgive me if it is wrong, Oven Full. She's a TEDx speaker, and she's also recognized as a Shiro's champion. We'll find out what it means when through the discussions. I hope we'll have a nice time. To complete, she's also been associated with many ventures like Amazon, Accenture. She's recognized as the top 10 Indian mom bloggers. So I think we'll have a great session ahead of us. So we'll get a chat ready. So over to you, Dr. Chandni.
Thank you. So let's just dive into it. Let's start with you, Vaishali. I think it's been many years since you were diagnosed. And we want to know how festivals have, changed meaning, or how did you celebrate those festivals back then, and how are things different now? Are they any different, or has it changed your way of enjoying the festivals, Vaishali?
Yes. It has changed a lot from what I've seen, and now what is happening. I mean, mainly because of the types of insulin available, and mainly because of awareness and education. So when I got diagnosed at that time, there was no education. So, sugar was not allowed, but jaggery was allowed. So that difference was not taught to me, to my parents. I was very young to understand all those things, obviously. But even to my parents, good ki sweets was allowed because sugar was the culprit, So that was the idea, because there was no glucometer at that time. So the sweets made up of jaggery or honey was, thought as okay, that can be given to the child. But now when we see, because of the awareness, because of the education, because of the labels given, which is available on the ready-made sweets, so you can make out what is what and how much to take. And now we have our latest technology of CGMS. We have got glucometers, so we can actually make out, okay, this is the written thing. But now if I eat this much, how much it will raise my blood sugar, or how much insulin will be required for this type of food. So there's a major difference.
Right. So, Cheryl, do you want to speak about the sugar-free sweets like Vaishali was pointing out about jaggery sweets, or we have date sugar, coconut sugar, agave nectar. So, Cheryl, can you point out?
Yeah, sure. I think Vaishali raised a very pertinent point, and I think Vaishali, even today, people think that anything which is brown is supposed to be diabetes friendly, and this is what when we interact with patients and their families, often they have this thing that if it is brown in color, it is diabetes friendly. For example, your jaggery, your honey, whether it is ragi, whether it is brown bread, anything which is brown, they perceive it as healthy. And come Diwali and now the festival season is coming, or even birthday parties, they will make something which is of sugar free, and then they'll eat it by the kilo, because they have this notion that sugar free means calorie free and carb free, and they will just have it in unlimited portions, just perceiving it to be a healthy food. And then we see that the blood glucose levels tend to be very, very high later. And this is a very, very common myth, I think, amongst most people, that jaggery and honey is not going to increase your blood glucose levels. But we know that they're very similar in carbs, they're very similar in calories, and you still have to account for them. And like Vaishali said, in the past, like I have been now in this field for the last 20 years. And in the past, we used to tell people not to eat. Honestly, as a dietitian, even I used to tell people don't eat. There was nothing like yes in my, meal plan. So all these came in the forbidden foods. You can't eat it. And, people were feeling very deprived and dejected that they could not eat these foods. But I think today, with the modern insulins coming in, with advancement in nutrition science, and now that we are understanding, and we're also doing carbohydrate counting. So we tell people that yes, you can eat, but it's important to remember that moderation is key. You need to know how much to eat and how much insulin to bolus for that particular food. So whether food is made of jaggery or honey or any other like agave nectar or maple syrup or coconut sugar, it is still going to contribute to carbs and still going to contribute to calories. So you still need to count and then consume. And monitoring becomes very, very important and crucial.
Right. Because nowadays, we have labels called sugar-free, which are rich in fat, and then there are fat-free, which are rich in glucose.
Absolutely.
So I think reading labels, counting carbs is the key. And as you said, we have to forget about this reverse racism where brown is good. And we must learn that it's carbs and fats and not a sugar-free or a fat-free. And so, Simran, let's move on to you. You have a small kid living with type 1 diabetes. And when we talk about festivals, then has it changed? Has her diagnosis changed how you celebrated? Or has it changed how things were done in your family before the diagnosis or after the diagnosis?
So I think that's a very relevant question. And I think most people think that, it's very tough when you have a small child. But I would say that actually it's tough on one hand, and it's also easier on the other hand, because small children are relatively more adaptable, as per me. So whatever changes we are making in our eating habits, for example, I see that her absorption level of the changes, her understanding and her readiness to accept that change is higher. Okay, that's one thing. The second is that, so for us, even before her diagnosis, we never thought of, say sweets as a cheat meal, and nor did we think of healthy as, something that we need to do differently. Okay, so healthy was a way of life for us. We didn't think of it, and it was not that, okay, so it's festival time, so we need to have cheat meals. Okay, so we've never had that concept in our mind, in our house, even before her diagnosis. So frankly, from a mindset point of view, didn't have to really change too much. But yes, I think what we've done more categorically and more specifically are a couple of things which, Cheryl ma'am also pointed out, that we are being more cognizant about how to carb count. Okay, so we follow something which is moderate. We don't follow something which is extremely different from what we we were doing earlier. Our focus was always healthy. That continues to remain the same. But like you said, we are more aware of what we are eating, how much we are eating, and then accordingly matching the requirement of insulin to that. Because that is very, very important. For us. The second thing that we're doing is, even though she's very small, she was diagnosed when she was 3.5. Now she's 4.5. It's almost been a year. We talk about it from the point of view of helping her understand. So again, a small, thing that I feel a little bit of a myth that small children don't understand. My sense is that, they are extremely intelligent, so they are picking up information that you're imparting. So it's our job to help them with information which they will then use to make informed decisions about their own health going forward. So I think when our earlier conversation happened, you will not believe exact repeat of that situation has happened in the evening today when I took her for a walk. Somebody offered her a mithai, in the park. And her first response was exactly what she did when some child had offered her a chocolate. I cannot eat this without my medicine. I can have this once I have my medicine. And that was her response. She's standing right next to me and responding like that. And this is the second time this has happened. So, as a parent, I feel very happy that she is not feeling like I'm being deprived, I'm being excluded, I'm being given something that nobody else in the family is eating, or I'm eating it, but nobody else, like I'm not eating, but everybody else is eating. We don't do that either. And we've done it as a family, the changes that we've made. And the last thing is that she knows that I can eat everything in moderation, and there's a time and a way for me to eat it. That's the whole thing that has changed for us.
I just love your point of view on that, because when we get with newly diagnosed parents, they are so affected themselves. It's natural. But the way you expressed it of how she's a kid, so she'll understand better than a 20-year-old who has to change the whole mindset. And I really appreciate the point of role of family. Even for our type 2 diabetics, we insist that the whole family should be eating this. It's not, it's basically healthy, a healthy meal.
Absolutely.
Even all of us should just have our cheat meals.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. The kind of diet that we all have. So I think it's very important for the whole family to just follow a healthy diet. And for our type 1 family, it start counting.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And I think I agree with what I just wanted to add here, that, because we're seeing children, and I feel when they're diagnosed earlier, like at the age of 2 and 3, like Simran was saying, it's much easier to adapt because they've not been exposed to these foods. We usually have a huge challenge with people who are, diagnosed after the age of 10, 12, because then they're eating out of packets, they're eating a lot of junk, they're exposed to it. And then to make changes becomes extremely difficult. So honestly, younger the diagnosis, the more adaptable they are. And also that the families, in fact, initially it's always about why my child and why, etc., etc. But after some time, in the subsequent follow-ups, they actually say that, we've become more healthier thanks to our child. We were borderline having diabetes or cholesterol, and today we've lost weight, we have become fitter. So they look at it as a blessing. So I think it's the way you actually deal with it. And I think it's very important, like Simran said about family. I think it's more important today.
And so Cheryl, what about artificial sweeteners? Like, do you recommend these to children, and like how much quantity is safe? Or these sugar-free sweets at times contain sugar alcohols or sucralose, stevia. So do we recommend it to children?
I think that's a very good question you've asked, Dr. Chandni. Is yes, if you see sucralose and stevia is fine for children, and it is considered to be safe. However, what I do in my practice is I allow them, I just tell them that, okay, you tell me how much sugar you're adding, or you tell me what the recipe is. And then we do the carb count and allow them to enjoy with the family. And then that way they know that they have to eat in moderation. But otherwise, yes, today people are using stevia, maybe sucralose, or even coconut sugar. Coconut sugar, though it has got carbs, it's got a lower glycemic index. So we do see a very good response in terms of this, foods which are made with coconut sugar. on the glycemic, post-meal blood glucose levels. However, they still need to know how much they feed, whether it is made with, because if you are making a product, a sweet which has got maida and a lot of other things, butter, maida, and a lot of other things that go into it, and then adding the sugar-free, your refined carbs are still there because maida is still there. There's going to be a lot of saturated fat from the butter, etc. So might as well you still know you eat the real thing and eat it in moderation. That's one. Otherwise, we count the sugar or jaggery or honey, whatever they've been using, but we tell them to tell us the amount and then use. Sugar alcohol in kids is not really allowed, or it's not prescribed, is only because it can have a lot of gastric disturbances, and therefore we usually refrain from prescribing sugar alcohols for kids. And otherwise, sucralose and stevia is considered to be safe.
I'd like to ask Simran and Vaishali both, since they are excellent bakers. What about their use in cooking or your baking? Simran, has your baking changed after the diagnosis? Is there more?
Not yet. I think that's one of the biggest positives. I think I think this is a blessing in disguise. I started baking healthy with coconut sugar almost 10 years back, and around the time my son was born. He's turning 9 now, so about 9 years ago, 9 years ago, and didn't think I would ever need it to the extent that I need it now. But like I said, I think that knowledge of having baked with something which had a low GI has really helped, because it has I'm starting at a point where I would have otherwise struggled to learn. I'm not saying I wouldn't have learned it. I would have definitely learned it. But I think in some way, and I think these are philosophical as it may sound, these are ways in which God works. I mean, I got that knowledge much before than I actually needed it. I did it in different ways to do healthy baking in general for my child, my first child. And I've used it much more extensively in the last 1.5 years than I have before. So I wasn't baking with white sugar in any case. But yes, I was baking with things like jaggery, which is good again, but I just felt that coconut sugar has had a better response. In Cheryl ma'am said that the response to the blood sugar has been much better with coconut sugar, and in a certain amount that it has worked. So my baking per se has not changed, but the way I've used it is, the other thing is that I've used the same. So, and when I'm not using, say, I'm not using coconut sugar, then I'm using, organic stevia. But with them also, I've used a very, very specific, approach that whatever I use, I'm going to use in moderation. The rules of the game don't change. We are going to eat everything only in moderation, because we make it with coconut sugar, because we make it with stevia. It doesn't mean I'm going to have a biscuit every day, or she's going to have a biscuit every day.
Yes,
it's not going to change. Didn't happen before her diagnosis, will not happen now. And that's the first thing that that has continued to remain the same. So moderate consumption, and like I said, the emphasis on carb counting, I'm getting better at it. I'm not, like I said, we're nowhere near perfect. We are still working on that factor. And the other thing that has actually changed is that I have understood how to combine things better. So for example, if I'm using, say, coconut sugar, right, I often tend to use coconut sugar with, say, a low carb flour. Okay, not for any other reason, but one is the flavor combinations. I personally think like almond and coconut works beautifully. Okay, so I feel that if I have to make a laddu, for example, I would make it with badam and with coconut flour and coconut sugar. Okay, and keep it keep the flavors a little in that range of coconut and almond. Okay, so like I said, what that does is, overall I feel, and that's really, I'm not like, I don't know if it's a fact or not, but overall I feel it has had better response for her sugar levels when I've combined, say, say an unrefined sugar, which is coconut sugar, not jaggery or anything, but coconut sugar, with a low carb flour. It has worked better. With something which is like, say, if I'm using stevia, I would probably use something which is a moderate carb flour. Okay, so if I'm, say, using besan or something like that, like, I mean, not excessively not, but trying to manage that sort of overall profile of the bake is what I am trying to get at.
But Cheryl, tell me one thing. I was just, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's this even coconut sugar, like, you have to verify the source, right? Because there is so much available in the market which is marketed like that. So I think, of course, checking the sugar post, whatever you're eating is important. And because there are so many things available that at times we don't know what is pure or what is not, or how much is the glycemic index for this particular, brand of sugar or something. And would you like to add on something about your baking experience?
Yeah, I mean, the way she said, Simran told us about the coconut sugar and all. So for me, I prefer more of stevia in my baking. And frankly, I was too young when I got diagnosed. So that's how I have learned till now. So it is not that earlier I used to bake in a different way. Now I am going in a healthier way. So I've been in a healthier direction always. So only thing is that I do use more of wheat flour than our maida or refined flour. So along with that, I use stevia. So few of my tea time cakes are, I mean, I go crazy for that. So just for the carbs counting and all, I do remember, and I'm in a big joint family. So all of us would prefer that only, the
Right.
sugar-free version of the cakes. And now the situation is that nobody likes to eat outside cake because everybody prefers this.
Amazing. So,
Absolutely.
that's great, but again, the message being carb counting. And one of the other things with these sweets, especially our Indian sweets, which are full of ghee and lots of fats, so it's not just the carb counting there, it's the
Exactly.
high carbs as well. And I think if we talk about glycemic index or the power of a carbohydrate or a food to raise your sugar, then if a lot of fat is added to it, it may not raise the sugar immediately, like if you're checking 2 hours after,
Yes.
but it may increase it 4 to 6 hours later.
Yes,
So
yes, yes.
our type 1 diabetics or even our type 2 diabetics should be very careful
Yeah.
that just because it's sugar free doesn't mean it's fat free. And if it hasn't raised your sugar now, it might do it 6 hours later. So again, the key being moderation.
Yes,
In
Dr. Chani,
this-
not only the sweets, even the sabzis and all what we eat outside, mainly during the
Oh.
festivities and parties and all, where we go out and eat the veggies. So
Correct.
they're loaded with ghee and butter and all, which will raise our blood sugar next day. I mean, till it will work for next 48 hours. So it is
Yeah.
not only the sweets, even the sabzis can be the culprit.
So Vaishali, how would you manage in such a situation when you're invited to a Diwali party?
I would first of all take care of my blood sugars very well. It has to be in a good control when I'm going out. And I do eat one full portion of salad or soup before going for a party. And then instead of directly jumping onto the dessert counter where I see many other people, I would go for rather soup and starters which is not deeply fried. Then either I may cut down on my carbs. So that's how I have learned till now. Sorry.
And Simran, what about you? Like you're taking your kid to a party. So
Right.
how does it figure in that situation?
So yeah, I think, see, right now I think because she's small, it has worked a little better. Let's see what kind of situation I reach in
COVID.
when she goes older. But what has happened is, so I mean, I think a couple of things that have really worked is, one is that she's very clear on what she likes, so that helps me. So I always have, one is, of course, I keep a check on her sugar levels. So before we are stepping out, before she eats anything outside, I'm very particular about checking what her sugar level is. And then, of course, when we are outside, I carry stuff also for her, because I know that there'll be stuff she may not eat, there'll be stuff she will eat, want to eat too much of, and I want to balance it. So I want to balance it out. So but the good part is, so my eyes are always open to see if there is something which is like a protein. So like, for example, she loves paneer, she loves chicken. So my emphasis is to try and give her more of that, frankly, because she likes it also. It's not like something that I know that will also give her rise at some point in time. But my sense is that I'll be able to manage it, and I've been able to frankly manage it better if I give her a little bit protein beforehand. So make her eat that beforehand. and she loves her salad, so I mean, touch wood, I think that remains like that always. But I think, she loves her cucumber, tomato, give her anything, she'll take it out and eat all of that. So, so giving her all that in that party, choosing what all she'll eat, and then if she wants to eat whatever else is there, so if there's something like, I know that a few days back she wanted to eat, for example, she wanted to eat a roll. Okay, so I gave, and she wanted to eat it outside. So she said, I want the outside one. Okay, so I said, all right. So I said, you don't make it, mama. So I said, all right, get from outside. So got a roll which had egg and chicken. Okay, and now what they did was, as a freebie, they sent potato wedges. Okay, she's not fond of, frankly, she's not fond of potato wedges, but that day she wanted to eat it. Okay, so I said, all right, I will let you eat this. And I had already counted the carbs and all for that roll, because I had estimated how much that is. I know that from past experience. I said, you finish the whole roll. Okay, and you have your salad, you finish that salad also, and then you have potato wedges, I have no problem. So she said, okay. And so she ended up eating 2 potato wedges, had no impact on her, frankly. So my thing is that I know it seems like, I'm telling her what to do, but I just wanted to understand. I think, this is also one of the things that ma'am has shared in her book about the order in which people are eating, and I think that has played very heavily on my mind. So I try to do that. See, when you can't control a lot of what is there outside, okay, then my mind starts moving towards, okay, if there is some level of control I have over the order of food, at least, let me try to do that. See, at the end of the day, it's a lot of trial and error. Things might still not work out, okay? But I'm, like I said, I've stopped, not stopped, but I've become better at not stressing about it and taking it in my stride and making my notes and saying, okay, fine, never mind, we'll figure out next time.
Right.
So
that
has helped a lot.
What do you usually advise to parents who are not as I would say good, or this thing as Simran? What would you advise to parents who are saying that we our kid went to a party, they didn't take a bolus, and they ate this or that, or we don't know what they ate? What kind of advice do you give to parents?
See, one is we have to tell them, like Simran is saying, I think it's very important that, I know parents who don't even send children for birthday parties, because they, that, I mean, in the olden days, it was even more prevalent. Now, at least, because we are counseling them and educating them, I think it's, children are not allowed to go for birthday parties, etc. And I tell them, no, you have to allow them to enjoy, find out what is there in the menu, so that you know exactly what is, the child going to eat. And most often we see that when the children come back, the sugars are so good because they're so happy. I think, even that makes a big difference, because they're happy being with friends, they're happy being one among all their friends. And even though they eat, because there's so much of activity that is involved. So I always tell parents, don't over-bolus, because sometimes they're over-cautious and they're over-bolus, thinking that, oh, the child is going to eat so much. But honestly, children in a birthday party are so happy playing around and jumping around that itself works beautifully on their blood glucose levels. And often we see that sometimes the blood glucose levels go down, especially in the later part of the night. So we always tell them, be very cautious when you're bolusing. It's okay to give less, but don't always do more, because you can always take care of that high sugar. But what in a party you're not there, and if the child's sugars go low, and always speak to the people, the host, so that you know what is there. Otherwise, carry something or send something with the child, because sometimes you go for a party, the food is not really served right on time. So at least give something to the child at home and then send the child. And I think protein is the best thing, because it remains longer in the stomach, so there's better satiety and the child is not very hungry. So I think very important is to counsel parents, and this is a major part of our in-clinic counseling, that we educate them that, children can go for birthday parties, they can go for birthday parties, they can go for picnics, and only thing that they need to know is what to eat. And I think today also the approach, like Simran said, like her daughter, she knows that, okay, if I have to eat something, that's what we tell children. And we always ensure that children are there when we are consulting, is because they need to know that, okay, I can eat everything. I just need to take insulin because my body doesn't produce insulin. So I think when you give that kind of positive messaging and right messaging, then they know, because the more you tell them not to do, I think this is only human. the more you're told not to do, you want to do it more. And that's why we see that, people who are diagnosed maybe 20, 30 years back, when they get that newfound independence that now they are in control of their life, then they go all out, because they've been so much controlled and told not to eat. But today's kids, because of the newer types of insulin that is there, we have technology with us, we have CGMS, monitoring. So there's a lot of flexibility. And honestly, I feel that they adapt better. And, I think that they will also, when they grow up, they will be able to handle the type 1 diabetes situation, even when they get independent, like going to another country and all that, much, much better than people in the past did.
Yeah, I think the main message here would be to educate and empower the children as early as possible.
I think it should not be a part, about restrictions, because honestly, even I feel guilty of that fact, because even I have told people not to eat a lot of things in the past. But today, I always tell people that with so much of advancement in nutrition science, even we are now advising people how to eat, how much to eat, and when to.
At times it becomes difficult to convince parents that no, we don't want you to put the kid on a keto diet. We want you to give carbs.
Yes,
That's another, we can have another session on that.
We'll eat just protein. So, right. So empower, educate, and for the party tip, first find out what the menu is going to be so that you can estimate what your kid is going to have. As Vaishali said, we can give, like she eats a salad or some protein before going there, or send something with the kid if you think that they will be fussy or they'll not be, they'll not be served on time. Another part which we emphasize on is the monitoring. We have already touched upon it a bit, but I think anyone who's taking insulin has to monitor the blood sugars. It goes, both the things are equally important, and whether it's before or after. So I want to ask Vaishali that, how does she monitor her blood sugars routinely, and what happens in festivals or festivities or parties? So is there a difference in her usual regime?
Yes, 100%. I do check my sugars at least 3 to 4 times in a day in a normal situation. But especially during the parties, during the festivities around, I do put one CGMS. Even tomorrow morning, I'm leaving for my Diwali vacation. So I'll be putting CGMS because I'll be going for trekking, or I don't know what I'm going to eat over there. So CGMS is a must for me at this point of time. My husband is also a type 1. So we both will put on the CGMS. And for each and every meal, we will do our carbs counting, especially when we are in the parties. At midnight, we check our blood sugars at around 3:30, at around 4 o'clock maybe. We do check because it goes into delayed hypoglycemia when we do dancing or when we are very excited, we are very happy. So sugars are bound to get low at the midnight. So bedtime, midnight, and fasting blood sugars are a must post party.
Yeah. And Simran, what about you? Like you have to manage with a kid and there's festivities, then it's playtime.
Correct.
So how do you manage?
So as of now, we are checking 6 times because there's really no other alternative, and she's very small. So I don't, and her, so frankly, with a small child, we want to put her into a routine. There is some sort of routine, but it's still not always the same. Some days she'll play more, some days she'll play less. Some days I've realized that if she plays so what I'm slowly realizing is also some patterns. Like, if in the morning she eats, okay, so if she's eaten breakfast and then she goes out in the sun to play, her sugars drop, and I have, that doesn't happen to her in the evening, which means it's probably heat related. I'm not sure if that's a correct diagnosis. But I've seen that as a pattern for her. Like, so if however, if she has some level of insulin in the evening also before she goes out to play, doesn't drop as fast. Okay. And, that's one pattern. So I'm trying to see, patterns related to her, her activity, which activity is, causing that. And of course, so like I said, there's no pattern, there's no routine. But when we go out, I keep a close check on what activity is she involved in, So again, I'll give you an example. We went to a friend's place. She had a good amount of lunch, and she had a laddu also after that, which was not accounted for. And but what she did after that was she went and started jumping up and down on the beanbag. Within half an hour, she came running to me saying, "I'm dazed." That's her. That is a pattern that I'm realizing, which she communicates now to me, that when she says I'm dazed, it means she is low. She's 100%, and it's bang on. Like every single time she has said she's dazed, and I have checked, she has been low. Okay, so I know that when she is low at that point in time.
Every time when I tell my mama, then she likes it.
Yeah, so that's what so I mean, this is also unaccounted for. Sorry, unplanned with small children.
But that's so sweet.
And she said very good.
Then I say very good to her, because she needs to tell me when she is feeling dazed, and I need mama needs to check. So I think that is something that she came immediately. I had to address it, and then I realized that okay, fine, so these things will happen. So I think the other thing, again, it's going back to your original point, that the more we empower our kid, I know, like I said, I'm still saying this again and again, that I know that children are small. She has started doing this in the last 3-4 months. Okay, so but the thing is that my reinforcement as a parent, there are times when she's come back and she has said I'm dazed, and she was not low. But I have never gone back and said to her, why did you tell me that you're dazed when you're not? Okay, because I want her to be able to tell me every single time. That is her way of vocalizing and understanding what her body is going through. So which is what I feel is a big help for me, and I think is something that as a parent I would encourage, and that I think is going to hold us steady in this not pun not intended, hold us steady in this festive season, to let your child tell you what they are going through. And they will be eating unaccounted food, but what if there is unaccounted activity also, right?
Very important.
So those things will keep happening. So I mean, you have to be very watchful at this point in time. But I mean, like I said, it's part of life. It's something that we have to factor in and make as much a part of our life as
And I always tell parents, that life is not only about sugars. Have other discussions, have other conversations, interesting conversations, and allow them to lead a normal life. I think that is so important, because sometimes even we get so stressed out, as parents at times. And I think that is when children adapt and they accept the condition also better. I think that's very, very important, and that's the messaging that should go out to all parents, because today I think also technology, it's a boon and a bane, because today there's so much that is being circulated on WhatsApp forward and social media, and life has become all about sugars now. Suddenly it's that you want that straight line, and you want to not give carbs and only give this, and then it becomes too much. I feel it's too extreme. Let them lead a normal childhood and enjoy life with other children. I think that's also very, very important.
Correct. Ma'am,
once in a way, a high sugar is, I'm sure, though we don't want highs, but once in a way, it's okay. Ask them whether they have had fun. I think that is so important, and don't reprimand them for a high blood glucose.
Yeah.
Because, how we show the child in terms of our facial expressions, I think that makes a very big impact on their mind. So, I think that is something I always tell parents, that you have to learn, if you have anything, please go close your room and, remove your frustration or whatever in your room, but not in front of the child.
That's a great parenting tip. And let's move on to exercise. So we've already talked about Simran, and she cannot monitor all the activities. But Vaishali, what about you? Does festival means more exercise to compensate? Vaishali?
Mute.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, 100%. It is more exercise, more work. I am a baker, so till 6:45, I was working on my confectionery products. I was working on my chocolates. So this is how it is, and not only during Diwali, but any other, like Holi or any other festivals. So being a mom, you are making something more for your child. Being a daughter-in-law, you are making something more for your in-laws to make them happy. So that's a part of life, and definitely you are also eating some amount of that. So you need to do more workout for that. So it is always a cycle, and you have to run with that cycle.
Right. So we'll take any questions that are coming, but I just want you to ask you all about some, guilt-free sweet recipes. So I'll throw a Diwali party and I'll give all my type ones and all my colleagues some good desserts. So can you guys share each one sweet recipe each, and if possible, give out the carb counts for our audience? Can we start with Vaishali?
Yeah, sure. My my favorite one is my granola bars. So so you want me to tell you all the proportion and everything, right? We have enough time for that, right?
Let's see if there are any questions. We can give a rough idea, like what ingredients and a basic this thing.
Okay. So first of all, chop all the dry fruits, the nuts mainly, walnuts, pistachios, almonds, cashews. Just chop all of them, dry roast them, and add dry fruits like cranberries, raisins, and mix all of them. And 1/4 portion of dry oats. And then, okay, you have to roast that also. And along with that, 1/4 portion of dates. Just saute them and just mash it off, mix it with the dry fruits and the oats and everything. And for sugar-free version, I would use sugar-free chocolates and just melt the chocolate and add it into that mixture, put it in the fridge and just enjoy.
That's
I think
one thing about dry fruits I wanted to ask, like dried fruits. So we have our patients, who will eat dates and things, and they'll think that this comes in, there's a difference between nuts and dried fruits. I just wanted you to speak about it.
I think thank you so much, because I was just going to highlight that point when Vaishali said it, because tell people you can have nuts, they go and have dry fruits, and then you're wondering there'll be apricots and there are raisins and there's anjeer and there's dates, and you're like, okay, we didn't advise this. No, but you said nuts. I said nuts are different and dry fruits are different. So it's very important, because nuts are really low carb, and that can be had even, when a child is on rapid acting insulin in between the meals because they're feeling hungry. So that is fine. But anjeer, dates, apricots, raisins, all these are concentrated sources of sugar as well as calories. So very important for us to account for it. And it's good when the glucose levels are low and you want to raise the blood glucose levels, then these are good foods to have. So we usually tell them to make like a dry fruit roll, which has got dates, anjeer, and raisins with nuts. You make it into those small laddus, and that becomes very tasty. And that also it's very handy, especially when you're outside. Yeah. And suppose the glucose levels are dropping, then that is a good thing to give the child. Or even pre-activity is something that you can look at giving the child. So that is yes, but I think very important to differentiate between dry fruits and nuts. They're very, very different.
So the basic message would be, if you're using these dates or anjeers, if you're eating it with something else, carb counting,
you have to count the carbs. I mean, dry fruits ke liye, yes. Almonds and all, you really don't see so much glucose. Almonds, pista. So those are our foods. In fact, with Diwali, if you're giving as gifts, I think this is the best thing to give. Even better than your sugar-free mithais. I think give, your almonds, give walnuts, and give pistas, because those are really good and very, very beneficial even in diabetes or even obesity for that matter. Or even for dyslipidemia, cholesterol.
Do you want to share a recipe with us?
I think Simran can do. Usually children love ice cream. And, they want to. And in fact, I remember my son asking me, Mama, because on that, ice cream, I'm not going to name the brand, but it says it's not for children because it's got sugar alcohols. And my son actually asked me that, Mama, why do they make ice cream which is not for children?
Not for children.
That was his question, because I told him you can't eat it. And so basically what I usually tell children is that you take Hunkered. So basically or Greek yogurt, you take Hunkered. You get these lovely jars, or mason jars or these cocktail glasses. So you make a layer, you put Hunkered, then you put fresh fruit. Now strawberries will be in season, so you chop strawberries and put that, and then put another layer of this Hunkered. and then put another layer of strawberries, and then hunkered, so a tall glass or a mason jar, and then you crush nuts and you put it in the freezer. And it tastes yum. Like if you can have it, like it's called a fruit parfait, and it'll be lesser than 15 grams of carbs for sure. So that is something which is really nice, and children enjoy when they have to go down to play. Or even, you can give it in a party. I think that's the best. Be a good role model. I feel even if you're hosting guests, I think that's another very important message I want to give out is please be a good host. In the sense, we have this whole thing about hospitality. Whether it is anybody coming to our house, we want to make sure that our good host means good food to be given. So, and they don't want to tell us that they have diabetes or their child has diabetes, and then what happens is you end up giving them aerated drinks and a lot of unhealthy food. I think it's important because suppose I'm serving a parfait, for example, to my guest. Automatically, I have even empowered and educated them that, okay, this is a good recipe. They will go home and make it, and maybe they will influence somebody else. So it's like a ripple effect, from my house going into another house and into another house. I think that's the best way to educate rather than giving lectures, to first be a good role model. I think that's so important.
So we'll listen to Simran's recipe and then we'll conclude.
I tried all of Simran. I love her recipe.
I have too many. So I'm going to try to keep it simple. Too many complex recipes, but I'm going to try and keep it simple and easy for people to do. So what I usually do if I need to do something quickly, really, is that I will, I will grind a cup of almonds. Okay. My daughter loves almonds. Okay. And like I said, we all will eat the same thing. So which is why the recipes are centric to what we can all eat easily. So about 1 cup of almonds will be ground very rough. Okay. So like almond meal. Okay, and I'll grind them with something like either cinnamon or green cardamom. Okay, just for flavor. We don't need any essence. We don't need any artificial flavoring. Okay, we have a lot of nice herbs and spices. No issues adding those. Okay, so add cardamom, add a little bit of cinnamon. Okay, for like flavor. So grind it together. Okay, it works very well because it allows the flavors to come together. All right. The second thing that I usually add, okay, from a binding point of view, will be either coconut flour. Okay. I love the flavor of coconut. So I think that is one big positive for us. So we either desiccated coconut flour. If you want to use something which is not say coconut flour, a lot of people don't like the taste. So the alternative would be to use besan, for example. I'm trying to give you a flavor of an Indianized biscuit, which is like naan khatai. Okay, because naan khatai is so traditional, people want to eat it, right? But I want to make it friendly for our family. Okay, so I would usually, like I said, if you don't want to use coconut flour, then about 1/4 cup of besan or continue with 1/4 cup of the coconut flour. And if you're using, if you're using, you don't want to use a regular sweetener, then stevia. So it depends on what is the proportion, which brand you're using. So they'll give you the micro spoon in that. So according to that, whatever proportion you need to taste, probably add it to that only. Okay. If you're not using that, then I would say again, coconut sugar is a very good alternative to use, and use again minimal. So I'm saying a proportion is about 1 cup of almonds and 1/4 cup of coconut flour. That's entirely low in terms of carbohydrates. Okay, so if you add about even mildly sweet if you want, then 1/4 cup of coconut sugar or maybe a little more than that should suffice. Okay, that's what you're looking at. Okay, now the problem is I don't want to add too much of ghee. Okay, I don't want to add too much of butter. Okay, not for any other reason. Like I said, that I'm not looking to create an over heavy kind of flavor. I want to keep it traditional, but I want to also keep it healthy. So I usually, what I do is I will add 1 tablespoon, just exactly 1 tablespoon of homemade ghee. Okay, in that I will sort of mix up into the kadhai. Okay, and I'll add all this ground stuff into it and just dry roast it. Okay, and what are you going to bring it together with? I will bring it together usually with something like almond milk or something like coconut milk, because like I said, it's a cookie. Now when I'm making it, I know for a fact that my daughter is going to pick it up and eat it the moment it is baked. Okay, I want to give it to her, and I don't want her to be worried about popping it in her mouth, frankly. Like I said, that is my aim. Okay, so which is why I tried to keep the dairy a little low. Okay, because I know the dairy causes a spike for her. So instead of regular milk, I will add, say, a little bit of 1 or 2 tablespoons. It's just 1 or 2 tablespoons. So if it suits your child, you can add regular milk also. Okay, just add that to bring the dough together. Okay, and start shaping it into cookies while it's still warm. Put it in the oven, bake it for 10 minutes. You have a very, very easy recipe to consume. Stays good for a longish time. Okay, because baked goods will usually stay good for at least a week, 10 days. And especially if it has minimal liquid, it has minimal dairy, it will stay good for very long. Okay.
I think,
So,
yeah, that's a very good one. I think even something like a chakli, if you look at all the flours that go, I'm looking at traditional Indian sweets now. Okay.
Correct.
They're looking at chakli, or you're looking at sevai that they make, it's called shavia, which is like, I don't know what they call it. It's called karakaddi in our place, which is more like, yeah. So it's all made from besan. And even if you look at the flours that they use, are very good, very healthy. It's like a multi-grain flour. And then instead of frying, I mean, you have an option to fry, but instead of frying, if you bake it, it's a very good low-carb snack.
Correct.
And in fact, we tell our parents, that you make this and you keep as a snack in the evening, because children are just fed up of eating makhana and, the same.
Correct.
Rather, you tell them to make, and they love it. Chakli ghar pe kha sakte hai, which is great. And it's lower in carb and it's very healthy. So why are we going, our traditional sweets that we make usually for Diwali are healthy. And we just need to, again, moderation is important, but that is something that they can all enjoy. So even a moong dal ka laddu, if you make it in a healthy way, or a besan laddu, if you make it in a healthy way, I think it's so good. And if you eat just little, you still feel so much of satiety and the joy that you're getting of eating traditional Indian sweets. I think it's wonderful.
Absolutely. In Karnataka, we get this thing called nipattu, okay, which is usually fried. But I mean, I did the baked version with dal flour, the moong dal and all of that flours. I just excluded the rice flour because that I felt would probably spike. Worked beautifully. I mean, there was no reason. It was so yummy. And like you said, it's a traditional snack which is made usually during festivities. Minor changes, very minor changes. And especially one big difference of baking it, made the whole difference, for me too. And like I said, whatever, at the end of the day, we have growing children who will be wanting snacks. Okay, one. Second, I think a lot of us, I don't know how many out there, but a lot of us are working parents. Okay. And managing a child with that condition and then trying to, create options which are healthy at the same time, suitable for their sugar levels is not an easy job. So, which is why I tell a lot of people that baking can actually save your life, because it is going to, you can bake, keep. You're not stressed about every banana.
Like you can prepare and keep them, and then that
keep it.
2 chaklis, or you're giving 2 or whatever, so there the carb counting, you can't go wrong because you've already standardized.
Absolutely.
I think that makes it very
control is very strong there. Yeah.
So,
even while talking about sweets, we can also make dudi ka halwa. Only you don't have to use that ready-made khoya which is available in the market. You can just make it with the available milk at your home. So I do it very frequently. I mean, then we do, obviously there are so many people in the house, so I do my carbs counting.
And Vaishali, today you were talking about rasgulla also. That is something that we do advise. Because rasgulla is actually good quality. Rasgulla. And they just squeeze out that sugar and then you eat it. It's pretty low.
Squeeze out. I just literally, I take a bowl with matke ka pani, and then I just dip that rasgulla into it and just squeeze that out. Because I myself, I don't like sweet taste in my mouth. I can't have chai with sugar. For example, even my blood sugar is low in the morning, I can't have my chai with sugar. I'll have glucose, then I'll take my regular without sugar tea. So that's how I'm conditioned. My body, my mouth is conditioned. So I had to take out that syrup out of the rasgulla, and then I will eat that.
It's actually good. It's chena, so it's like good quality protein. So your hunkards ke saath bhi you can make so many other recipes, and children love it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like Simran said, you can add your cardamom powder. Lychee tastes really nice. Or very cinnamon nice. In anything. It's a nice, even apple slices, you just put some cinnamon and put it in the oven. Oh my God, it's delicious.
I made apple cinnamon cake today.
Oh, it's lovely. We are all making everyone hungry, I'm sure.
So to a completely different direction, so bringing everyone back to Earth. Cheryl, we have a few questions for you from Dr. Parmeswari Subramaniam. So she's asking about regional diets, and she's asking about in Kerala, we're all addicted to eating plantain in the morning. So what do you have to say about that being a cause of sugar or increasing blood sugar? And another thing is blueberries, the dried blueberries. So what do you suggest?
One is, I think, very good questions again. So, like I said, there is no risk, like in terms of fruits also. You know, people ask me, can I eat a mango? And I say, please eat it in the mango season. So you eat it. And again, with the banana, the same thing happens, is that you have to carb count, because obviously concentrated source of calories and carbs. So you need to know how much. So very important, banana also, you get different sizes of banana. So when I tell banana, now I have to specify how much, because you have an elaichi banana, and then you have a green banana, and then you have a big Kerala banana, which is almost like 4 times of our small elaichi banana. So one is how much. And if you do the carb count, and then like this is for children with diabetes or for adults with type 1 diabetes, then you carb count and then you can enjoy it. I think it's great because it's a natural source of, sugar. And I usually give it to children when they're going for intensive activity. So, if they're going down to play in the evening and they want to have a banana or they want to have a mango, I think that's the best time to have it, is because then it keeps their sugars. And in fact, we see that when they come back from play, their sugars are bang normal. Is because they've expended so many calories, and that gives them a good instant energy. So it's better than eating, even if it says it's an oats biscuit or a ragi biscuit, I would still prefer a banana to a oats biscuit or a ragi biscuit, because honestly, we can do one session only on food labels. But if you look at the label and the ingredients, an oats biscuit is typically around 6 to 12% of oats. Everything else is maida and sugar. True. And we eat the entire packet because we think it's oats biscuit or oats cookies, which are available today. I would say eat natural. Like, there is a saying which says that eat what is grown on plants and not what is manufactured in plants. And I think that's the best way to, live life. And this is for everybody. Yeah. So banana is, again, we don't restrict it. We just do the carb counts and we look at the glucose. So we check the pre-meal. The sugar, and if the sugars are say around 80, 100, have your banana, go down to play or do any kind of activity, and sugars are very well controlled. Always have fruit with nuts because that works well. The nuts give that delayed release, so it helps because it's healthy fats as well. And the next question was on blueberries. Again, it depends, because usually what we get, blueberries are canned and they're dehydrated. Nowadays you get fruit chips also. It's nothing but dehydrated fruit which has got a lot of sugar because it's concentrated source of sugar and calories. So there I would say that you need to watch out. If you're getting fresh, nothing like it. I mean, I tell people who are abroad, please enjoy, because you get lovely berries. But when strawberries come in season, again, strawberries, I don't know whether I'm digressing, but I met a farmer from Mahabaleshwar, and he was telling me that they inject glucose into strawberries. And that's why if you look at original strawberries, organic strawberries are really small. But the strawberries that we get in the market, especially in Mumbai, are really large, giant-sized strawberries because they've been injected with glucose, and we usually see that the glucose levels spike up. So, juicy, like even for the apple or for a fruit, anything that looks very attractive, it can be very deceptive. It may be very unhealthy also. So, go in for a small size and
that is something. All our fruits, I think.
For all fruits.
Absolutely. So I usually tell them, if you feel, you check it 2 hours later,
Absolutely. Because sometimes it's watermelon also, we've seen that they are injecting glucose and guavas as well.
Even the corns, earlier we used to get the corn which was not, spiking our sugar. And now everywhere we're getting sweet corn which are loaded with glucose.
Correct.
Earlier it was not like that.
Yeah.
Yes. Corn, and nowadays you have high fructose corn syrup. So, if you look at all your cereal packets, because sugar is considered a villain, high fructose corn syrup is a more economical version. But if you see, it is actually very, very harmful because it increases your triglyceride, it increases your uric acid. And people think that I'm eating a cereal, which is actually loaded with sugar, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
And actually, the question was that blueberries have been recommended for diabetic people.
If it is fresh blueberries, yes, berries are good because they're lower in calories, lower in carbs. If they're fresh, yes, but I don't know how much do you get fresh blueberries in India. I'm not too sure.
Trail mix with all cranberry blueberry.
Yeah, like all these berries are usually, canned and
Imported,
so.
So I think we should wrap up. So any concluding remarks? So let's go one by one. Vaishali, Simran, Cheryl. Let's
Just enjoy the festivals.
Say, yeah.
enjoy
Check your
the
blood
festival.
sugars. Check your blood sugars. Eat in a moderation. That's what I can tell everybody.
Simran.
So, I mean, I think, I don't have anything very different to say, but I think, yeah, one is, of course, eat in moderation. Second is, I think, festivals will keep coming. Okay. So I think, the best time to actually start putting things into practice is right now. There's no good time as it is right now. I think just give your child the right information to make start making decisions for themselves. I think that really helps.
Cheryl.
I think you've summarized it very well. And I think very important is just let them be like any other, treat them like any other normal person. And I think we all need to eat healthy. And same thing applies to them. And whenever they eat, make sure that they're taking insulin. And preferably if they want to like eat something which is higher in fat or something, it's better that they do it in the day because then you still can control it. In the nights, it becomes a little difficult. So that is something that, we need to be careful about. And for people on insulin pump and all, if they're eating a high fat, sweet snack, etc., then they can always do a dual bake bolus, which works really well for their blood glucose levels. And monitoring is very, very crucial and important. Keep active. I think very important is activity. So like Vaishali said, please have some nice dancing sessions also at home along with eating. So you eat and you dance so that you burn your calories and you can enjoy the festival.
Right. I think it's equipoise, whether it's feasting season, festival season, and glucovigilance is important. And we must educate and empower our friends. And whether you are a type 1 or not, we should all eat healthy, exercise regularly. If we have type 1, then monitor, do the carb counting, and just encourage a healthy lifestyle for everyone around us, not just us. And I think that's it. So we wrap up here. And happy Diwali to everyone, and happy all the festivals that are coming. So thank you.
Thank you.
I just let me thank all of you for the excellent vibe session. I think because listening to you, I think we thought that we should have a second session as well once the festival ends, so that whatever points we learned here are consolidated. So I think we should thank the ESI. You should thank the ESI for really entrusting this opportunity to all of us. So we should thank the president, parent president, Dr. Ganpati Bantwal, the incoming president, Dr. Rakesh Sahai sir, the past president, Dr. Sanjay Kalra sir. So these are the stalwarts, and these are the people who really help us regarding that awareness activities. So with this, I just take the permission of all of you. So all of you should really enjoy the season coming ahead. And again, greetings from ESI and greetings from all of us. So thank you. Happy Diwali. Happy, safe Diwali.
Thank you.
Thank
Happy
you.
Diwali. Namaste. Bye.
And thank you, Dr. Mohan, again for
thank you, Dr. Chandani. Thank you,
Thank
Cheryl.
you.
Thank you, Vaishali. Thank you, Simran. Thank you, East.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Dr. Chandni.
We'll end the session.
Bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, Mintu. Thank you, everyone.
Is it still live? It is.
Yeah, it will be live for 2 more minutes. You can have some.
How bad will end.
Yeah. It will stop. Just they will stop it now. Then we can leave. Yeah, it was nice. It was nice. So we should have some more sessions like this. Great done. Great work, Dr. Chandani.
Yeah, Dr. Chandni were really good. Excellent it was.
She was multitasking. She was seeing the chat.
I was like Simran.
The team was good. So that's why. Great. So enjoy.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll leave. Bye.